Welcome to Medcast Plus. I am your host, Dr. Jack Braha. On the show, we feature local healthcare providers and physicians, except tonight. We have Whihelmina Grant, who is a patient to come meet with us tonight. She is a cancer survivor, artist, author, veteran of TWA and the Friendly Skies, and now an artist in residence at the Cancer Center at Woodhull Hospital. Whihelmina, it is an honor to have you here. It is so interesting to talk to you about everything you have done. We were talking out in the green room, and we should have just videotaped that and put that on TV, but let's try to organize everything for our viewers today. Welcome to Medcast Plus. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Well, I'm from Brooklyn originally, and I now live in Harlem. I'm an artist in residence at the Woodhull Medical Center through the Creative Center, which is an organization that places artists in residence in hospitals all throughout the city. And what I do as an artist in residence is I work in the Cancer Center, in the clinic, as well as the infusion suite, and I bring the patients an arts experience while they're waiting for the doctor and or while they're having their chemotherapy.
So patients in the hospital laying in a chair waiting for their chemotherapeutic infusion.
And while they're having it,
While
yes.
they're having it. I could imagine it's a stressful, harrowing, very anxious time for patients.
Absolutely.
And you bring artistry to the bedside.
And this helps beat the boredom. It takes their mind off of what they're going through. It's like a little vacation away from cancer.
What kind of projects do you do with these patients at the bedside?
Well, I determine what's possible for them to do. Some of them have to keep their arms stabilized, so they only have the use of one arm to do an arts project. So we may do something together, something involving fibers. We'll do a knitting project or a crochet project, something soft, something easy to manipulate, or some drawing or some painting, and the sky's the limit. They usually get very interested, and they find a way to do the project. If they're interested enough, they find a way.
So even in this tough time in their lives and getting these chemicals through their veins and going through the side effects, they find interest in doing these art projects.
Well, the key thing about it, besides taking the anxiety down, it's impossible, you're a doctor, you know this, it's impossible for the body to experience pain and pleasure at the same time. So we replace that other feeling with something pleasurable. So it's very pleasurable to be creative and to do something artistic and to experience something new.
So it's therapeutic for the patients, bringing them some pleasure or some distraction as well from the infusion or the cancer care they're receiving. Are all patients receptive, or do you get some people who don't want to participate?
Sometimes it takes a moment. There was one woman that I would ask every single week for 6 months, would you like to try something? I've got this or I have that. And she said, no, thank you. And then one day I didn't ask, and she said, aren't you going to ask me if I want to participate?
That was the day, huh?
Would you like to participate? She said, maybe. I said, maybe is a yes. So we got her involved, and she was a participant after that.
And so you were working over at Woodhull Hospital, and you also mentioned to me that you're at the senior centers around town?
Yes, I bring an arts experience to the seniors at a couple of centers, one in Washington Heights, one in Bushwick, and another one in Harlem. And these are seniors who are ranging in age from 70 to mid-90s.
And they're interested as well in taking on these art projects. Is it difficult for some of the elderly who may have some dementia or difficulty, say, with arthritis and
They're
mobilizing
some of
their
the
hands?
best participants.
Yeah.
They are some of the best because I allow them to go at their own pace, and I give them something that they're able to do and able to complete, and so they have a feeling of accomplishment, they have a feeling of pride, and they keep coming back for more.
That's nice. You told me some funny stories about how sometimes they're sculpting men and women, and you tell them, is that a man or a woman sculpture? And they figure out how to get the anatomy on there, don't they?
They're literally like 70-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and they're very mischievous. They can be pretty mischievous.
Yeah, I think art is a great outlet for people to express themselves when they sometimes can't, and I think for the elderly or for patients going through some tough times, I see this in the hospital where they have sometimes artists or art therapists or music therapists come in and they'll play a song or they'll do a quick painting, and better than giving an anti-anxiety medicine or a pain medicine, it takes that level down, like you said. And you can't feel the pain and happiness at the same time.
That's true. And then one thing I notice is that they prescribe Benadryl for the patients, and it usually makes them sleepy. And sometimes I have patients who refuse to go to sleep. I'm going to push through this.
They're fighting
I'm not
the drug.
going to sleep. Exactly. Because they get so involved and they get so happy.
It's a really nice experience. How did you become an artist or an artist in this capacity? Did you go to school, or is this a hobby? How did you
Not
get
at all.
this
I was
position?
a cancer patient myself, and I saw an advertisement for training for artists in residence, and I didn't think I would get the job, but I applied and I went through the training at the Creative Center, and then I got a call 2 weeks after the training was through that they had an opening, and I said, "You really picked me?" I didn't know I was going to be picked, or I thought there was a long waiting period, and it wasn't. It was immediate. So that was in 2011, and I've been there ever since.
And you mentioned that you were a patient at one point, and we talked before the show about your history with breast cancer and your diagnosis and the treatment and how fabulous you're doing now. Did they have this when you were undergoing your treatment?
I don't recall seeing anything like this. 25 years ago, that was way back, where a lot of the modern things that they have now available were not in place. So it's a wonderful thing to have available for the patients.
You kind of wish you had that available to you at
It
the
would have
time.
been nice. As a matter of fact, though, when I went through another situation medically, and I was back and forth at another hospital as a patient, they did have the artist in residence program, and I was asked by the artist, "Would you like to make this or that?" And I said no. And then she came back around again, and she had to ask me 3 times, and it took me 3 times to say yes, because I really wanted to, but I didn't want to, but I didn't know how to say yes. And so that's another part of the issue, that they need to be welcomed and made to understand that this is for them and it's okay to say yes, but we don't disempower people. If they say no, then that's empowering for them, because if you think about it, the artist is the only person in the entire building that they can say no to. So the doctors say, "Well, take off your clothes, I'm going to examine you." They have to do it. The nurse, "Give me some blood." They have to do it. But would you like to make an art project? No. Okay, maybe tomorrow, maybe next time, or maybe next visit.
Well, that's nice. But some of my patients tell me no, so they run out the door. But it's a great experience to be able to use it's a great experience you had as a patient, that you've now brought the benefits of art that you experienced back then. But getting back to more of being a patient, tell us a bit about what you went through 25 years ago and how you went about treating your cancer and fighting it both physically and emotionally.
Well, the negative side of it is that I was 37 years old and I had a lump on my breast that I had become aware of after a karate match, and I got hit in the chest.
After a karate match?
Right. Now, of course,
You didn't
karate,
mention that before the show that you
it's in my book. You were looking at my book.
I was.
But karate, does not cause cancer. Getting hit anywhere on the body does not cause cancer. But in my instance, I was very, very lucky that I got hit exactly where there was a problem, and it brought it to the surface.
Wow.
And I went to the doctor at age 37 to ask for an examination, and they told me no, I didn't get a mammogram. I was too young, that I didn't fit any of the criteria for breast cancer. It's probably a cyst. Go home and put a warm compress on it.
But you knew something was wrong.
And I left crying because I was in a lot of pain, and that's not one of the criteria. At least it wasn't then. So that was my challenge, to get diagnosed. And I went to another center and I told them what my symptoms were, and they diagnosed me. And it was already advanced stage 2A with 5 lymph nodes involved. So if I had just left it alone, it would have been a whole different story.
And you went through?
So then I chose to go through chemotherapy, radiation, and then follow up with tamoxifen for a number of years.
Wow.
And of course, there are many more options right now, and then there's the internet, but back then I had to go to the library, I had to call and ask for pamphlets to be sent to me, I had to do my homework. I went to 3 consultations, and then I made an informed decision, and I decided upon a lumpectomy with chemotherapy, radiation, high-dose chemotherapy, radiation, and hormonal therapy afterwards.
So you did your own research. You went to the library as opposed to today when people are just Googling on their phone. Do you think it's better today with all the extra information?
Much better,
Yeah.
much better, because it was very time consuming and I didn't have time on my side. I was told by the first surgeon that I needed to get in the OR as soon as possible. But being the scholar and student that I am, I wanted to know what I was getting into. So I did my research first and then I made a decision.
For many of our viewers, they don't understand that we had to go to the library back in the day to look this up and try to get information and make probably a ton of phone calls. And
Exactly.
as opposed to today, from the phone, you could probably pull up the latest research
Exactly
available.
right. Exactly
You
right.
mentioned you were treated at Columbia Hospital in the
and
city,
back
Columbia
then
University.
it was called Columbia Presbyterian. I'm sure they've gone through a name change. But
There's been a lot of name changes in New York City with the
Exactly.
hospitals lately.
Right.
And you had a positive experience there. You've been a survivor. You are a survivor.
Absolutely. I had great doctors. I had great treatment. I didn't have an artist in residence, but my experience going through the surgery and through chemotherapy and radiation was a positive one.
And so now you bring your experience as a cancer survivor, as an artist, and you bring that to the bedside at Woodhull as well as to the senior center.
Well, as an artist, yes. As a cancer survivor, no.
Do you
I'm
bring it up with
anonymous.
patients?
I'm anonymous in that
Right.
in that regard because we don't want any comparisons. That's not part of the equation. I just come to them as Miss Happy. That's the name they gave me, Miss Happy.
Does it help you, though, having been a patient?
It does, because I can look at it from another perspective, and I know what they're going through. I know how they feel, so I know when to back off, and I know when to approach, and I sort of know how they're feeling because I was there.
Yeah, I think until you are a patient, yeah, and there are many ways of being a patient, whether it's going for a surgery, undergoing cancer treatment, suffering from other diseases. Until you've walked in the shoes of a patient, it's very hard to relate to the patients that we see as physicians and you see as an artist. And having been a patient, and you've been a patient, I can tell you, it opens your eyes
Absolutely.
to what they're going through.
And truly, they feel comfortable in sharing secrets with me sometimes, things that they wouldn't tell the doctor, things that they wouldn't tell the nurse. And sometimes I'm saddled with that, okay, what do I tell the nurse that I just discovered? Because I have a responsibility. Once they divulge something that might be injurious to their health, I have to pass that information along. So it gets a little bit tricky.
But you're part of the care team, and that's very important.
Absolutely.
For us as physicians to have you and all the members of the team, I can tell you that when my patients in the hospital have someone playing guitar in front of them, they definitely look like they tone down their pain level a bit. Their anxiety seems to go down, and it is therapeutic. What about people like me who are terrible artists? I mean, I could barely do a stick figure, I think.
There's no such thing as a terrible artist.
Do you have to guide certain patients with some extreme artistic help to get the project done?
There's no such thing. If they say, oh, well, I everything I make is ugly. I said, well, make me something ugly.
That I could do for you. Yeah.
It's the matter of spending the time, being creative, and taking the mind away from what's going on in their cancer and in their medical situation. That's the whole idea of taking the mind away from that, the distraction.
Now I think our viewers need to know why you are such a personable person as well, and you probably are able to relate to many people, is that you were part of the flight crew for TWA for 27 years? 27 years.
I was a flight attendant, yes.
Up in the friendly skies, you retired.
I think that's United's tagline.
Oh, sorry. You were TWA. I don't remember their tagline. And then,
up and away.
Was it really? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you, American Airlines took over,
yes.
and you worked for American.
For a brief time.
And you were retired in?
2011, I think.
Not too long ago.
Not too long ago.
And you worked for 27 years. Do you think your experience in the stressful environment of this tube flying at 500 miles an hour at 40,000 feet helps you as well?
It helped me in terms of being able to understand people. When you're in that artificial environment, it's very easy to be very stressed out, afraid, nervous, and you got to think of why people fly. They fly for happy reasons, for sad reasons. They're going to a funeral or they're going to a graduation. So you sort of, you have all the extremes. So I learned how to deal with people because I'd be responsible for people, maybe 1,200 people a week, 1,200 different people a week. So you really, internationally, you get to know people,
Right.
to be able to read them. You can tell when someone's mad, you can tell when they're hurt, you can tell when they're angry, you can tell when they're upset, when they're in pain. And when you're up there, you're all they've got. So you're the psychiatrist, you're the doctor, you're the nurse, you're the policeman, you're everything.
Yeah, I have patients in my practice who are pilots and flight attendants, part of the crew, and I have a great respect for you guys. I can tell you that I am more nervous getting on an airplane than when I went for surgery. Laying there ready to go into an operating room, I think I'm more nervous sitting on the tarmac or when we hit a bunch of turbulence. And so I think that your experience, 27 years of being up in the skies, definitely helps our patients when you come to the hospital, because you have such a great personality and ability to interact with people of all sorts. And so I congratulate you on what a career, and now a second career as being an artist. And I mentioned that you're an author, so I want to show our folks that you have a book that you authored, Feeling of Fullness, Insights of a Divinely Guided Journey Beyond Breast Cancer. I could hold it up here and show it up at the camera. And I was briefly going through this book. I wish I had gotten it a little bit longer before showtime. There are some wonderful pictures and stories. Tell us a bit about why you decided to write this book.
Well, I wanted a way to have my legacy left so that people that come behind me can look at it and say, oh, this is who she was. Because I don't have any children, and that's part of the cancer story. I was diagnosed at 37, so I was unable to conceive after that because I think my eggs were fried by the chemo. So, and it just wasn't part of my experience. And I wanted to just put my story down on paper and show, one, that you can turn a negative into a positive, and two, just to leave a legacy. Because I have nobody named after me that's coming after me, oh, that was my mom. I have nobody that can say that. So that was my baby.
Right.
And all of the pieces of art that I've created, those are
this is your
the
art
things
or your
that would be left behind after I'm no longer.
So the words here and your journey is described here and will be forever on paper and in these words is your legacy, as you said. When you were writing this book with all these pictures and these stories, what was the most important part of this? Was it your cancer journey? Was it your journey as a flight attendant? What part of this book are you most proud of, or did you work the hardest on to bring out for readers?
Well, the whole idea of it for me was to show that no matter what, there's always hope. So I talked about in the book how I didn't have any resources. I had just started making art. Someone had showed me how to make art out of junk. And I didn't have any art supplies, but I had junk. So I started creating things from junk, and it became just a tremendous thing. And
so out of scraps and
exactly,
right.
Things that were discarded, things from the kitchen, things from the thrift store, things that I found in the street sometimes.
Recycling.
Little pieces of metal, exactly. And I made them into art. And the strangest thing is people started collecting them and purchasing them. So I said, well, I didn't make it for that. Oh, no, but I have to have it. And it just was an incredible revelation to me.
Do you keep your art at home, or have you given it away?
I've sold a lot of it, and I'm still making it. I'm an art maker, like a daily art maker, so I usually do something artistic of my own every day besides teaching the seniors and the
And where do you sell your work?
Well, I have exhibitions all the time, or once in a while I'll have a pop-up exhibit. People will call me now and say, would you put a few pieces in an exhibition that's happening, a women's exhibition, or an exhibition about a specific topic? And so I'm always exhibiting somewhere. And I have some work in a museum right now in Dallas, Texas. And it's just been an incredible journey. And that book talks about all the coincidences and the miracles that have happened, these small little things that made a change and a shift. It's just been miraculous.
And of your artwork, what is your favorite piece, or what is your favorite media to work with?
I work in assemblage, because you mentioned that you draw stick figures. Well, I'm the same kind of artist when it comes to drawing, but when it comes to putting together things like what you see, objects, found objects, that's where that's my forte. So I use objects and put them together and redesign them and transform them, and that's my That's my art form.
So outside of all the work you're doing at the hospital and the senior center, you find time to make work, you find time to sell your work, you find time to go exhibit your work. I am so impressed, and it's so exciting. What advice can you give to people watching today who have, their desire to become an artist, which we know is such a difficult career to sort of make it, quote unquote? What's your advice to a young person watching today who has an art that they like to make and isn't sure how to take the next steps forward to make it their career, per se?
Well, when I started, I didn't know it was going to be what it is right now. And it was just important to me to do the work, just to make the art. And when people started collecting it, then things changed a little bit. But I still do the work, not with the idea of selling it, but I do it because I have to do it.
So you do it with a passion
when
for
you
the
do what you
artwork.
love, then the money will come.
So don't try to go for the money. Try to just do your passion.
And I'm
That's
not
great
rich
advice.
by any measure in monetary terms, but I am rich in creativity, and every time I think I've run out of ideas, there are more. So it's just a matter of doing it. Just do it.
That's incredible. What else do you do with your time? What other hobbies do you have aside from artwork and working with the hospital and the senior center?
Well, I travel. I like to travel and go places. I still, because of my experience with the airline, I still have travel benefits, so I take advantage of that, and I go to faraway places. And I've been to Cuba 4 times, and I just enjoy just getting around and seeing the world, and I think that informs my art too. So when I come back and when I've seen people from these different distant lands and how they live and what they do artistically, dancing, drumming, singing, painting, I get very inspired.
Now, I hear one of your favorite destinations amongst the thousands that you've probably been to is now Alabama.
Yes, my second home.
Because we should congratulate you on your marriage, correct?
I just got married. At 63 years old, I got a husband for the first time.
God bless you. Congratulations.
So don't give up, ever.
So Alabama is now on the list of favorite places you go to. And I hear he works for an airline as well. Or
Same airline.
Same airline, a match made in heaven, or in the friendly skies, or up and away, whatever the slogan was. So in your travels and your years, and now with your new husband, what is your favorite place to go to aside from Alabama?
My favorite would be Charleston, because that's where we met.
Tell us a bit about that.
Oh,
How did you meet?
all up in my business.
I'm going to get.
Well, we were both at a conference. I do that a lot. Since I travel, I try to get around to conferences around the country, around the world. And we were at a conference in Charleston, South Carolina, in August of 2018, and we met, and the rest is history.
Well, congratulations on that. Let's get back a little bit to healthcare and working in a hospital. As you and I both work in hospitals, they're stressful places. Where else do you think art or art therapy or being an artist in residence, what part of the hospital do you think we can also move this into to help our patients?
Every department, absolutely every department, especially in the area of recovery from drug and alcohol abuse. That's probably a very good place to put art and artists, because people who are recovering have a lot of things on their mind that they want to express, and the best way to do that could be through art. And they don't necessarily have to be skilled, but they could get some emotion out onto a piece of paper or into some clay or some other means.
Now, how do we get our politicians and our hospital administrators watching us today to get this into other places where you feel it could benefit patients? Is your organization citywide, or is it?
It is citywide, but the Artist in Residence program is something that's around the entire nation. So I think every state has an Artist in Residence program. But the Creative Center is the organization that places us in different hospital-like settings. So they're not just in hospitals, they're in hospices, believe it or not, and they're in senior centers, and they're in a lot of different areas. So to get this to grow, I think people need to value the arts, and recognize that it is an important part of our existence, and that it does eliminate stress. It does reduce stress, if not eliminate stress, and it does help people to change their attitude, for lack of a better word. It does heal. And like I said, I'm not an arts therapist, but it does have a healing quality to it.
Is there a website or a way they can find you?
Find me?
Like on
My personal
Instagram,
website? Well,
or
I'm on Instagram. My website is my name, Whihelmina.Grant.com, and my Instagram is my studio. It's an acronym. It's S like Sam, I like ice, S like Sam, T like Thomas, A like apple, H like happy, Sista Studio, and the acronym for Sista is Survivors Inspiring Sisters Through Art and Advocacy for Health. And it's a small grassroots nonprofit organization that I started to use art to bring awareness to the community about early detection of breast cancer.
So we could find you on the web, we could find you on Instagram, we could find you at Woodhull,
And Facebook,
the Senior Center Facebook, on an airline, Alabama, Charleston. Incredible. I mean, the book is called A Feeling of Fullness, Insights of a Divinely Guided Journey Beyond Breast Cancer by Whihelmina Grant, who is our guest today. And this is, again, a picture of the book, and we'll try to get your Instagram handle onto the show. It is really an honor to have you here today, and I want to thank you for everything you have done for protecting us in the skies, taking care of our patients in the cancer center. We wish you good health in being a cancer survivor, and congratulations on your new marriage.
Thank you.
Really great to have you on the show. It's been an honor.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for your interest in our show. I invite you to visit our website at medcastplus.com or reach out to us on social media. You can also contact us at 718-510-2103. I'm Dr. Braha. From all of us at Medcast Plus, stay healthy and have a good day.